Welcome to another Secret Influence TV interview. Secret Influence TV is a channel to help people become better influencers, because I genuinely believe that influencing is one of the most important skills in life. And if you want to be successful in business, you need to influence your audience. You need to engage with them, and you need to get them to be interested in your message. You need to influence them to follow you, to listen to you, to engage you, and effectively buy a product or service. And if you can't do that, you won't be in business long. So I believe everyone has a message to share, or story to share, and expertise to share, and that's how we influence and inspire people. So in my interviews, I interview people who either have a story to tell or expertise to share, but influencers or inspirers. Today, I'm very excited to be chatting to Simon Robinson, who is founder of a little meetup network group, amongst other things, and a bit of an expert, I think, on networking. So we're going to have a chat about that. He's going to share some tips on networking. So just to start, so Simon Robinson, he runs a business and community networking called Little Meetup. And I'd like to say, welcome, Simon. Thank you for giving me your time. It's good to see you. Well, thank you for coming on the show.
My pleasure.
Okay, so just to start with a few light questions just for a warm up. So you live in Crowborough, is that
yes.
correct? How
yes,
it's
4 or 5 years. It's a small town in East Sussex, very rural, but not very far from anywhere. Crawley and Gatwick Airport being 30 minutes away, M25 being about the same, and Brighton being about the same. So within 30 minutes, you can be in most places in the southeast.
That's part of the world. I was brought up in Sussex, so I do know the area quite well. So it's another question. What makes you excited in life, Simon?
In life,
we're passionate about.
Bad part is always wanting to beat others, to do something, to achieve something, and the good part is to try and help others. As you know, Nick, I have 2 cancers, and so therefore my drive is to try and help other people. So that's to help people in the cancer world, but because I've been in the business world all of my adult life, it's to help people in particularly in business startups. That's sort of the area that I like to help people in, if I possibly can.
Just briefly, on the cancer side, I mean, I know you said earlier you sort of had it for 12 months, and every time I see you do seem very managed to be quite upbeat and positive about it. Or how do you keep yourself motivated? How do you keep positive? Because obviously it must be
in relation to the cancer. Well, I've had what's neck cancer. I've had that since 2017. I had treatment for that. So there is a slight difference in most cancers. Usually you go into remission. So, you go to the hospital, you have whatever treatments you need, chemotherapy, radiotherapy, whatever it might be. And then when you've had that, they decide whether you're in remission or not. With the neck cancer, there is no remission. It's a maintained condition. Right. So therefore, you've got to get used to the idea that's with you for the rest of your life till you die. Okay. However, in my case, the 12 months, they found that I have an additional cancer, which is bowel cancer. So they want to treat that with radiation or to remove the tumor if possible. So how I motivate myself is I run an organization called the Netcast Foundation, which operates across the world. We have monthly meetings. We have lead medical doctors, lead specialists in their field, and we run conferences. And that way we get patients onto those. And so as an example, we had one last night. Lady gives a talk, a doctor in Augusta, and then I get a reply from a lady called Dorinda in Los Angeles, and she says, "Thank you very much, Simon, because there's not usually a talk on this subject, and this has really relieved me from the worry." So I'm grateful because I've actually helped that person, however many miles away they are, a lot of miles away.
I think it's like doing something you're passionate, keeping busy doing something you're passionate about is important generally for life and motivating life. But I think where you're doing something, keeping you busy, you're passionate about, that is obviously so personal in that way. I think that's I can clearly see that is something that it is obviously important for you, and I can see that. So,
but it's 1 in 2. 1 in 2 get cancer in their life. So if you think about that, that's half of the world's population, however many it is, that actually need help in some way. And if you look at how fast they've managed to find a cure for COVID, you would hope that, having learned from COVID, they would be able to find cures for cancer as well, equally quickly, within 12 months. It's quite remarkable.
I think the only way they find cure things is by constant pressure. It takes research, it takes a lot of money, but it's only that constant awareness and pressure on the politicians, on the scientists. About the wars with COVID, obviously, and I think it's the same with cancer. It's that constant awareness of it, constant pressure.
The thing is, Nick. Sorry to interrupt you, but you're saying about the power of influence at the opening of the program. And that is, in fact, the case, because I have a contact with a man who works at the Institute of Cancer Research in London, and they actually have patented or patented, depending on how you want to say it, treatments for cancer, cures, biomarkers, but they couldn't get the funding. There just simply isn't the funding available certainly not from the NHS, because they spend all of their funding. So I've set about finding him funding through networking to launch these products and to sell those products to the NHS. That would save the NHS a fortune, because where people are being given the wrong treatment because they don't know, the doctors don't know which treatment to give them, that would be the solution. It would save the NHS millions, maybe billions of pounds.
No, I think there's always that thing of like short-term gains, long-term gains, and there is, these things are phenomenally expensive in the short term, but longer term, inevitably, you've saved, so much more. It's
absolutely. Well, we're working on that. We're trying. That's the helping others.
We're just on this. If someone, if anyone's watching this and they're interested to offer their support, so what's the name of your foundation?
That is called Net Cancer Foundation. So the email's contact@netcancerfoundation.com. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn.
Great. Okay. Thank you. And I'll share that in the.
Thank you.
In the notice as well. So now moving on to the sort of more business focused side of the interview. So just we're going to talk about your networking mainly, but just describe your career briefly up to now.
I was at university. So I was 19, University of Leicester, studying economics and politics. I got a holiday job with a man. I didn't like the university. He offered me a directorship in this business. I said yes. So I was 20. He put the business up for sale shortly afterwards. Nobody was going to keep me on. I was, a nominal shareholder, 25% or something. And so my parents gave me the house. I mortgaged it and then bought his business. And I ran that until about 2001, when I was struggling with the business, because Halfords had taken over the sort of market that I was in, which was motor accessories. I was importing and exporting them. So I started doing work on a voluntary basis for the Prince's Trust as a mentor and as a coach, coaching in marketing.
Right. So you've been a business owner for almost your career, a long time, yeah. And so obviously after that, coaching with Prince's Trust, that's what led to. Is that when you created your first working group?
Yes. The thing with the Prince's Trust was they were initially had to raise all of their money from donations, but by then they were getting government contracts after in the late 2010, and so I figured that I could actually do that myself. So we set up a foundation to help people. So Freddie Smith would come along and say, "Well, look, Simon, I want to be a window cleaner. Can you help me?" So that's what we did. We were helping people. Sure. But what happened from there was that we were offered various sort of charitable assistance. And what happened was, rather strangely, at the time I lived in the Midlands, and we were offered an office block, a very large office block, in Oxford.
Okay.
So this was free of rent and free of rates. So we took this and worked on the basis of donations and used the donations, sold them online or on a weekly sale. And then we started to have a lot of shops. So how I ended up in Crowborough was that that was one of the places where we were able to find a shop vacant that we didn't pay rent and rates. But it was particularly successful because this is a very affluent area. So it was more like a nearly new shop than a traditional charity shop. Then I became ill, and so therefore, once I was well enough again, we focused on networking.
Okay. There's a saying everyone knows: it's who you know, not what you know in life. And I think sometimes that has bad connotations, but I think it's so true. Life is all about relationships, and business is the same. There's people behind businesses. We're selling products, services by people to people, and even with technology developing and social media, essentially it's still all about relationships. And the better quality relationships we can form, the better we're going to engage with people and get a message out there, grow a business. So, I think it is, and it always will be, to an extent, life being successful is, it is about knowing the right people and forming the right relationships. Do you agree with that? Do you think, it is about who, to life is about who you know, not so much, not what you know, or it's important?
I think the first point is that pre-COVID, there was social media obviously was massive. As a result of COVID, social media grew. I think the interaction rates are 40% up on previously. Obviously, people were at home and what have you. But in the background has always been networking. There are franchise networks, there's chambers of commerce, there's independent networks. And also companies sometimes have networking groups. So say solicitors there might be groups of solicitors within a networking group. However, the result of COVID has been that networking has had to, obviously, switch to online. So from our point of view, where the networking before was face-to-face and only in the southeast of England, it's now worldwide. Okay. So the answer to your question about the networking is that you can network with anybody, and you can make connections immediately. And if I could give you an example, we have regular meetings online, and a gentleman said he would like to attend. Lives in Mid Wales, so you can't really get much more remote than Mid Wales. It's like out of the way, should we say? And he said, "Well, will I get any contacts? Will I get any leads? Will I get any whatever?" And I said to him, "Well, you might, but the normal format, what you're usually told, and this applies generally, takes 6-7 months to build up confidence, people to get to know you, for you to get a referral, you'll have to blah, 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 blah." He got 7 connections on his first meeting. Wow, that's crazy. So I said to him, "There's no way, just couldn't have happened. It's not possible." He said, "Well, I'm telling you," he said, "I have 7 connections and 5 of the people signed up with me, but I'm going to come to your next meeting." So I said, "Well, please understand, networking doesn't work like you think it does. You won't get any more." He got 10. Wow. 10 new connections. So in 2 free networking meetings, he got 17 live connections. That's the power of networking. No matter whether it's ours or somebody else's. That's amazing.
That is incredible. So, on that, with your group, I know it's like you said, it's grown internationally since it's gone online. Has your approach, has that been organic, or have you, did you have, I don't know, have you used paid advertisers, or just organically grown through word of mouth? How has it grown?
No, I think what we've done is we've learned from the mistakes that we've made, and we've made lots. But people have liked different things. They might like the meeting on a particular day, particular time. So many meetings. Number of people that attend is a big factor. The ideal number of people for a networking meeting, I think, so that everybody can get a chance to talk, is about 20, 25. After that, taking into account this might be for one of your viewers, they have never been to a networking meeting. So 20, 25 is nice because as a new visitor, you're going to get a little chance to talk. You might not get any connections, but you might get, like the man I've described, you might get 7, 10. but you'll have made that little connection. As you said at the beginning, networking, it's important, influencing people. And so because ours is free, there's nothing lost, because you can go, you can interact, you can use social media as a method of interacting, and we're a private group. So because we're private, we're able to stop people hassling other people to make a decision to buy something that they might not want.
Okay. And personally, do you prefer offline networking meetings or online? Both very different, offer different sort of benefits. Do you have any preference?
Well, in my case, obviously, I'm on a meeting. I'm usually leading it, so
Sure.
I don't, generally speaking, because anybody that's experienced in running a Zoom meeting with more than a couple of people will know it can get quite difficult, because you lose people off the screen and all sorts of things. But I prefer small groups, because they're more intense, and also people are allowed in. It's easier to say what you think. So if you think somebody's idea is rubbish, and there's 4 or 5 of you, you can just say, look, I don't mean to be rude, but I think your idea is rubbish.
Yeah.
In a bigger meeting, particularly if you've never met the people before, don't know them, then that's just not practical.
And do you, post COVID, if things go back to sort of normal, would you look to would you keep online? Would you look to sort of ideally, would you like to restart the physical meetings in that way?
Well, we will do, because we were originally in the southeast and going into London, Croydon. So Croydon Park Hotel, where I first met you.
Yeah.
We were at Croydon, Crawley, and then and down onto the sort of coastal towns. But the plan was always to move up into London, as it were. So what's going to happen is once we're freed up to meet each other again safely, and not in any hurry to do that, because we need to be really sure that people are safe, we'll operate regionally, and then we'll operate nationally. And we already have plans to operate in other countries. So at the moment, as an example, on this Monday coming, we'll be in New Zealand. I jointly host with a gentleman who's in Auckland a meeting, and then in time that will then become a face-to-face meeting. Obviously, I won't be there, but that'll be a face-to-face meeting in New Zealand. Also, we have India, South Africa, Turkey, and United States.
Fantastic! Wow, truly international. It's funny, Simon. I'm a member of the president of the Toastmasters Club, and we were based in London Bridge before COVID, and we used to have people attend who worked or lived locally. But since we've gone online, we've had guests from India, America, all around the world, and we've even had people joining our club from around the world, which wouldn't be possible. So I'm hoping you'll go back to real world, and that's our plan. And you much prefer that, but it's interesting, to have that.
I think the thing is the benefit of COVID is it's bringing people together. All the politics seems to have disappeared. There's no longer but I'm in India and the politics is such and such. It's just a universal platform. Yeah. And networking is so powerful, because your Toastmasters, an example, it will grow, because you can actually meet people in time, but at the moment you're just getting to know those people, and that's what networking is. It is if I had a new business and I knew what I know now about networking, I'd go to every networking meeting that was close to me that I possibly could, but I'd also go to international ones, because then I would learn how those people conduct themselves.
So just on that, why should people network? I know it sounds like an obvious one, we cover this a bit, but is it about connecting with people you can do business with? Is it about learning from other experts and things? Why should people network? Why should people do it?
Well, let me give you 2 examples. First of all, we have local groups. So as an example, there's one in Dorking in Surrey, so just off the M25, meets every Tuesday, 10 o'clock. So the idea is, I don't run that. Obviously, I go when I can, but I don't run it. So it's run by a lady called Anita Puttick. She's a member of our elite group. Now, why that works, networking's your question. If I live in Dorking and I've got a business, that allows me to contact 200 members it has. 20 people turn up to the meeting, so I can either message them between, or I can talk to them online, and we then help each other with business. On a bigger platform, we have what's called an elite group, which is a business support program, and on that networking, people give each other business. So one person who is a member of that elite group is currently building, directly as a result of networking and the elite group, 8 websites. Now, he's already done some, but he's actually building 8 websites as a result of people that he has come into contact with through networking via our elite group.
I think that says it all, that it's not just a social way to spend time chatting to people. There is, clearly it is a concrete way of actually, positively getting business. What if someone was...
but there is a social element to it.
Sure.
Because if you become friendly with that person, then they become technically your business friend.
Yeah. No, definitely. I think I've been talking about it earlier. The relationships, certainly in business, I think about quality, and if you can build trust in someone and get to know them, and get close to them, where it's not just a light touch, occasional formal relationship, then that can only be beneficial, for both yourself and the person, inevitably. If someone was new to networking, perhaps they've never been to a network meeting, whether it's online or offline, what would you do? Any sort of suggestions or tips for how what to do? How would you how should someone who is attending one of your network meetings want to maximise their opportunities or present themselves best way? Any tips?
Yes. First of all, don't go in a hoodie. That's perhaps the first most important one, because if you're trying to be treated, think that people are going to treat you seriously, you need to be at least reasonably smart. Sure. I did read something that suggested that you should dress how you would dress if you went to a face-to-face meeting. So I think that's probably right.
Okay.
Secondly, you would make sure, if it was on Zoom, you would make sure that you knew how to save the chat. Right. It's really important, because if it's a big meeting, that's where people put details about their business. So you press the save chat button at the end. Anybody can do that.
Okay, good point.
That means that you've got all of the contacts of the people that you saw. For you, as when you're presenting, if you're asked to present, you don't have to. Important to keep your camera on, because if you don't, then it's just like a radio program. It doesn't have the benefit of actually seeing you, and people then can't see, your reaction, how you are, your body language. But then the most important thing is, sometimes it's only 40 seconds or maybe less. So you would say, I'm Nick Ronald. I live in London. I run the Secret Influence TV program, and a little comment on what it does. That would be all you need to do. So even if you're nervous, frightened, scared, never done any sort of public speaking, you're going to be able to at least get across. And then as soon as that's finished, get onto the chat. And then on the chat, what you must do is make sure you put your phone number, your email address, your website address if you have one, and your name. And you might get contacts like the 7 and the 10 that I mentioned before. But if you don't be worried, because you just go back again to the same meeting, and then you repeat the process, and then you will gradually start to get people contacting you. But you don't have to have joined Nick's Toastmasters to do it. You just got to remember your name, where you're from, and what you do. And if you can get that across in your 40 seconds, then it'll work for you. And you don't need to be scared.
Fantastic tip there, because I don't save a chat. Doesn't often occur to me, so I'm going to be doing that now. So that's a good, simple tip. I think so. Yeah, definitely that good one there about save a chat and the follow up. It's not just when you do your almost like the elevator pitch, isn't it? You've got that sort of short 40 seconds, minute to present yourself, and it's just getting across who you are, what you do, and how you can help people. But then a lot of it is in that follow up through the chat. It's interesting, because when I'm in Toastmasters, we talk a lot about presenting on stage and your body language, and we forget with the importance of some of the same things you do in person, like eye contact. Online, where looking at the camera is the way of getting eye contact. It's the same, still as important online as offline, and Yeah, even though it's a virtual stage that way, it's the same principles of good in body language. So it's interesting.
There is another point. There is another point I should add, and that is that people constantly say to me that when a meeting has ended,
Sure.
They go immediately to LinkedIn. They go onto the save chat, and then they try and find on LinkedIn, because it's a good business platform.
Sure.
They try and find those people and connect with them straight away. And they believe it's really important because the person's likely still to remember you. So even if there was 40 people on the meeting, because you've had your 40-second elevator pitch, as you call it, Nick, which is the right name, what actually happens is that they'll connect with you. So although you've only seen them for a few seconds, what you've ended up with is actually a new LinkedIn connection. And so if you've only got 20 or however many, you might increase it by another 20, another 30, just out of one little meeting. And that meeting might have been free. And I have 20,000, over 20,000 connections on LinkedIn, principally because of networking.
That is something I do, Simon. I admit after meetings I'll connect with LinkedIn, and I think I'll always drop in a message saying just heard you speak at this meetup. Very much interested in what you're saying. We'd love to connect. So you follow up and they'll remember you, but also you can just have that personal message. So I think that's a great tip as well. One thing I like about the meetup group is a lot of people, they're passionate about it. That's a good sign of a networking group. People they're passionate to be part of it, and they enjoy partaking, to contribute, they attend regularly. And it's almost like you've created not just sort of followers, or you've got fans of your group. How do you engage your members so they become fans of your office community? Is it about the quality of the way you want? Is it about how organising the meeting, the quality of information shared, the quality of speakers? How do you manage to get turn your followers into fans?
Well, principally it's our elite group, but that is something where we charge for, so it's slightly different.
Okay.
That's a business support program. But the little meetup group, which is free, always will be, never going to change. It's part of our charitable causes. That I think that what happens is that people engage through social media. So we have a platform on Facebook, which is pretty straightforward. It's facebook.com groups little meetup. We have a platform on LinkedIn, which is slightly different, has 600 members. And then, of course, the whole thing is part of Crowborough Foundation. And there we have 1,500 members now. So I think that the answer is they're like a family, but they're your friends. They, for want of a better phrase, as I said before, they're your business friends, but they are actually your friends. So if you message them, you use WhatsApp, text, phone call, one-to-one meetings. One-to-one meetings are very important to develop your business and to develop your networking. I think that people they either like you or they don't. If you're new to networking, and so you agree a one-to-one meeting, like you and I have a one-to-one, and you find that person's really pushing to sell you something, just don't have any more meetings with them, because you're going to have a disproportionate amount of time taken up. They've got to believe in the ethos of helping others. It's really important that the people that you're dealing with want to help you, because if they don't, then you're going down the wrong road. And so it's important in networking, if you're just starting out to do it, then we're assuming that people haven't done networking before, it's really important that you try a few different meetings. So as an example, the two big groups, BNI, an American franchise, for networking, which is a British company owned by a chap called Brad Burton, who I know, or maybe a Chamber of Commerce. But what I think you'll find, the difference is that you'll be bored. With ours, in answer to your earlier question, ours is meant to be friendly. We're not trying to be too serious. Yes, we're serious, but a little joke, have a little laugh, have a little sort of a minute, a break from it all. And that's why people come back time and again and get involved in it.
I think that's an excellent point there. There's a lot of talk, at the moment about the why we do things, and if we, our attention, and if we you know, we'll only achieve things if we have the right why. And I think it's like that, you know, if you have a good intention to help other people, then that's the best starting point, and people pick up on that, and people connect with you, you'll establish rapport. If you're just in it for yourself, that'll come across. And, you know, if nothing else, I think it's having that sort of helping others, you know, even if you're, you know, also in business to make money, but helping others, put your customer, your client first. That is I think one of the best attitudes you can have, and then certainly, you know, networking.
I can give you an example of that. Lady in the television industry, been very poorly. Not relevant to the point, but she just has been very poorly. And she got in touch with me and she said, my daughter's boyfriend is still at school. He wants to be an apprentice, but the school have told him, no way, can't get this apprenticeship. So I said, well, I happen to know somebody who actually deals in apprenticeships. Within 20 minutes, he was on an apprenticeship course.
Wow.
Within 20 minutes. I now mentor her other daughter. She's also wanting to be in the film industry. She's on an NLP course run by somebody else within our little meetup group.
Okay.
This lady normally charges £1,200. She's doing this for us free. The reason is that it's getting it's developing her business, her NLP business, because she's getting a bigger audience than she would otherwise have. So she does one a week and trains them so that they're better prepared for business and adult life.
I think it's, yeah, there's in business, you know, there's obviously an element of competition in a lot of business, but I've actually found that I've been open to, you know, connecting with people and collaborating. You know, I've got more business that way, and even if it's not direct business, by people who leave me a positive testimonial, you know, it's built my brand. By having that sort of attitude than a sort of constant competing. I think collaborating, connecting is always more powerful than trying to aggressively compete. So Simon, I always say this, but I genuinely I could chat to you all day. But we're gonna have to sort of perhaps wrap up with one of my final questions. I always ask our speakers to share a few final tips. I mean, you've obviously been doing that throughout our interview, but is there a sort of a final few top tips to people who are perhaps starting out as, you know, in business, and, you know, they want to grow their brand, they want to reach out, connect more people, and any sort of tips on how to do that, whether it's through social media?
Yes. First thing they need to do is a mini business plan. Not one of these things, 25 pages, and terrify yourself in the process. Just a mini one. Just your name, address, your telephone number, your email, whether you've got a website, what you're planning to do, what your aim is, your USP. Perhaps that's the most important. You know, do you have something that makes yours different? So in a case of Little Meetup, it would be that we're free, always will be, and that we're expanding across the world. That would be our USP. Having done that, you need to get yourself onto social media. And you need to make sure that you keep your brand the same across all platforms, so that you don't have Simon Robinson on one platform and then call yourself another name on another platform, because you're not getting continuity. And then you need to start going to attending online at the moment, obviously, networking meetings. So I would recommend probably trying 3 or 4 different ones.
Okay.
A local one, obviously. Always try a local one. Maybe try a national one. Maybe have a look at some of the bigger groups, because they have visitor days. Right. It's important to do that. So it's a combination. In 2021, the important things are networking, social media, and knowing what you're doing. Just a small plan. Yes, you do need a bigger plan, obviously. But in the original instance, as long as you've got something down on paper that you can look back at daily, weekly, monthly, and say, am I doing this? Am I doing what I set out to do? I think that's really the key.
I think excellent point there. Have a plan. You know, we fail to plan, you plan to fail. That's what I've heard. But I think the good thing about networking is, you know, there are a lot of groups out there, but you know, you can go along and try for free. But very especially online, they rarely will go be invited to a meeting or join a group, and they'll ask you to pay to try it out. So there's nothing to lose. Like you say, try out different community, different groups, networking, find what works for you. So Simon, you genuinely, you've packed in so much value and tips. That it's been a fascinating talk and really helpful. Thank you for your time. And obviously, I will share your details below, and also of the Netcast Foundation you mentioned. So if anyone wants to connect with Simon or interested in joining his group or find out more, it's called Little Meetup. You can find it on Facebook. I will share some of the contact details below. And as you can see, Simon is an expert networker. He's very experienced in business, in supporting people to network and connect and grow the business and influence. And this is Secret Influence TV Interview. I'm Nick, one of the founder, and I'm passionate about helping people become better at communication, better influencers, and by helping them share their story and share their expertise. So that's it. Thank you again, Simon, and we'll catch up to you soon.
Thank you.